Oseo.
Oseo.
That's a Cherokee greeting. Wave the great feather for the good of it. Today, right now, it's the winter solstice, and that's my theme. And along with Celtic and Navajo. So that's the way we're going to start. You can shoot all the way over there. This is a replica that I've made. I'm using this light to delineate what's going on here. Then tell you what this is about. This is a stone. This is a stone that is about that high, actually. And I'll tell you where it is. It's in Nevada. The Truckee River flowing from Donner Lake goes through the city of Reno and through then the eastern part of that is Sparks, Nevada. Then the river kind of goes out to something of a plain and then approach these desert mountains. I'm not sure how many miles, a few miles out there. And then as these mountains open for that river, a little ways in, there is a massive rock coming down from this mountain or this hill. And it's a very blocky kind of rock. That's the way I would describe it, just, like squarey. And it's quite covered with, the lower part, quite covered with ancient petroglyphs. And it's referred to as the Court of Antiquity. At one time, the highway I-80 East is paralleling the Truckee River going out there. And so a while back, the Court of Antiquity was, a rest place, a rest area. You could pull out there with your car and probably look around at the petroglyphs if you knew they were there. But more recent times, another highway, kind of paralleling that highway, has also been made below it, and it's cutting through this rock. So a lot of the petroglyphs and rocks were destroyed by that. But still the Truckee River flows there. So Vivian and I, she knew about the Court of Antiquity, and now it takes a little bit considerable effort to be able to access this, because you have to park someplace and you have to walk some ways. And so that's what we were doing. We were looking at these petroglyphs that were there. And eventually I walked to the whole western edge of this huge outcrop like that. And standing there, because it's just like a sheer drop, like I said, these are just like big blocks of rock. And I could see down below me on the sloping bank into the river another stone completely unlike any of these others. And it was a large conical stone, and that's what I've replicated here. And I could see even from standing up above it, I could see the petroglyphs, the carvings in the rock. So I made my way down there and began to, scope this whole thing out here. And I have some recognitions of it. So I'm making this light go because it would be about this high, almost, 4 to 5 feet like that. And it's made of crystalline granite. I'm not sure what the other rocks were, but this was the only rock like it whatsoever, just by itself there. And it's coming up out of the ground, and the ground is, sloping down towards the river. And here by the top of the rock is a perfectly shaped bowl. That's what I have here. It's a perfectly shaped bowl. Maybe you could hold like 1.5 gallons of water, something like that. And it has a lip over it. And on this lip there is a very neat petroglyph. That is, with some very precise tool, someone carved this image into it. And then down here is another one, also carved very neatly. The carving shows up because somehow the white or light underneath the surface of the rock, carving it away, makes these figures stand out the way I've illustrated them. And then here, alongside of this, in the rock, this is a natural occurring figure. We would call it, an X shape, like that. So that identifies what all of this is, and I'm going to give you some clues about that. First, we're going to say how that this functions as the winter solstice. Here, if you put here, this is meant to be the winter eagle. This is the winter solstice when the winter eagle flies up from down below. We call down below Shinar, the ancient land. And that eagle makes this light on top of the rock. And this is the beginning of the whole 6 month or so sequence of the light coming down over the rock. So now what do these inscriptions say? This says Yahu Bel. And I've written it down here below. You can look here so you can see what it looks like. Yahu Bel. So this is quite remarkable. The language we are looking at here is Gaelic. Gaelic is Scots Gaelic and it's Irish Gaelic. And the method of writing this figure here, this is B and L, is called Ogham. Ogham is an ancient Celtic way, like an alphabet. It's actually called Beth Lois. And it is made by, so many digits or strokes, and if you have the cipher for it, then you can know what it says. And this one is BL. And this figure here, while it's in the rock, in this Beth Lois system, it is a diphthong. It is, a sliding vowel. Yeah. So, and then this figure up here was most interesting to me, because having this bowl here, this looks like a crescent moon, and the moon governs all bowls like that. But it was so remarkably carved, almost like a brush stroke. That's what was amazing to me. And I began to find out, because I had to find out what this means to say with it, this figure. This letter here is from an alphabet, a Celtic alphabet from Gaul. So right away, this is all suggesting to me whoever made this, is definitely from the Mediterranean. I would have to guess. So now this is Yahu. Now what is this standing for? Well, once that you know what the formula is here in the ancient Mediterranean, this is going to be saying exalted is the moon. The dove is the queen of the moon, and the Gaelic name for the dove is Calman. So that now is telling me what this is. Yahu. She is the dove who governs the solar year. And here I have made the dove here. So that is now can plainly say exalted is the moon, or the queen of the moon, or the dove of the moon, anything like that. And then down here, this figure Bel, now from the Ogham. This is an ancient, kind of Mediterranean, almost universal formula for Yahu, and added to it Bel. Bel is like the figure of the sun, the light of the sun. Modern people would say that Bel's a god, but these words not really work correctly. He is her Mak Savul. He is the light of the light principle of Grain the sun here. But even more, for all of this, you can just look at me for a minute here. I have a book. This is Robert Graves' The White Goddess. Now in this book, The White Goddess, he writes about exactly what I've told you here, including Yahu Bel. And so he has it even has an antecedent all the way back to 3000 BC is how long that this has been used. Now, just briefly, what are we talking about here? And that is this figure that is figured by the X here, that is written with Roman letters IA, YA, or JA. And that is the original, can put it this way, the original name for the deity that later English has called God. This figure in Hebrew is called Yod. Yod. And the Germans translating Hebrew into German translated it by something like the law of linguistics, that the Hebrew Yod translate into the German God. Both Yod and God originally had DH at the end of it, that had an aspirant. And so the tetragrammation that is figured in Roman letters Yod, He, Vav, He, is partly what this is saying. That became translated in the King James Bible of the 16th century or something, into God. Before then it was never a vernacular word. So basically that's what we're saying here of this stone. Once that at winter solstice, that this light starts, it covers the stone until it's completely covered, and that would be the summer solstice, and that would be the glory of Bel. So that's as much as I'm going to go into on this. There is considerable scholarship and studies behind the usage of these letters and their meanings, and how they evolved into what people think they are today. Now we're going to change from that. We're going to segue into the Navajo. As for the Navajo, you go over here and look at this. I'm going to start with this. I have this here to replicate the same thing. The stone of Bel in Navajo is called the sky-reaching rock. And the Hatali, the chanter, he makes this, out of clay, and actually puts it on the sand painting that he's featuring. So there really is, such an object, and it has considerable story to it. So to start here with the Navajo, go up, way up here. You can see that. All of this is going to be the Great Star Chatway. That's what I'm signifying here by this Navajo basket. This Navajo basket is itself called the Rock Crystal Star Basket. And it has a story as how that it came into being and usage in the Navajo culture. Simply, the people were camping. The people are the Dene, that the Americans call Navajo. The Dene were camping to the west side below the Chusca Mountains. And they saw a comet passing over them, and it appeared as if it landed on top of the Chusca Mountain, because they saw a light or a glow coming up there. So they went up there the next day, I'm sure, right away in the morning, and what they found there was a very large rock crystal. So this certainly looked like something very special. So what they did is they in the ground drew a line, a circle around it. And here in the basket is a red circular like that, and presumably leaving the opening for the way that this crystal star, came in here. So that's what in the basket is this. And then out there, outside, they made another circle of rocks to, especially, designate this. So that's where the rock star, the rock crystal has come from, that is featured in the baskets. Americans, for some reason, call these baskets wedding baskets, but I don't know why that is here. And down here, I've also used this blanket design to say also the Great Star Chatway. And here I have a Navajo sand painting showing the eagle, since the winter solstice is specifically the day of the eagle, or Awahali in Cherokee. So now I'm going to go over here to this painting I have here. This is a Navajo mask. That is my replication of a Navajo mask. It's a kind of mask that fits over the person's head, so they call it a helmet mask, And these would be made out of some kind of, hide, raw hide or tanned hide, appropriately, colored, and it has, like red yarn or something red for the hair around it, and the coyote skin rough. What this is about is that at the end of October, until the winter solstice, is no time. It's all disappeared. So it is the time that I can best translate as blackness is her body. Blackness is her body. The mask, Astanasisi, is the mask itself is male, but what the mask has within its content is not definable except in the blackness of her body. What it is made of, these two circles like this, are called the revolvers, and that they are the constellations revolving around the pole star, so Cassiopeia and Ursa Minor. And this circle that goes up to a crescent, denotes a month. This is a month. And very interesting, here, this is a constellation of the Pleiades. It's called Dilyehi. Dilyehi meaning the pointers, and Navajo culture always depicts the Pleiades in this arrangement here, even though in the sky they don't look that way. So all of this is a mask that a impersonator wears for a special chantway. And the ascent of the constellation Pleiades shows the time of the year we are in here. The dancer person here carries this. If you come down here with this is to show a fire starter with tree bark, because it's rather conceived that this being ignites the stars. So I have stars, all around it. So that's how that this is all figured here. Then come over here to this center painting that I have made. Some time ago, I did a whole series of Navajo masks of this sort where I used all natural materials, like leather and hair and moss and fur. And I had a show of this in Nevada at the library, and they recorded over 300 people came to see that show of my Navajo replicated masks of this. This figure here is called Born for Water. He is December's child. And I have figured this mask in the old way So originally it had like Spanish moss for hair. Everything about born for water is the being that is born from water. He is his mother's son. So, born for usually is going to denote the father's clan, but in this case he is denoting his mother by saying, I'm born for water. And here on top, here's a turkey feather that I've spoken of before. Stands for rain. This is the clouds and these are the sheets of rain. And this is emerging from a white bead. White bead, like white bead girl, becomes white shell woman. In other words, it's a sacred token, is what that is. And here in the center, his face is made with this black sort of triangular shape. And interesting, these little eyes, these little eye holes there, has above it olivia shells, little seashells, little olivia shells. And down here on the mask, this signifies rain, there's rain. And then here, this figure here is like the X on the bellstone, but here it is being figured, and this is the symbol of born for water. This is the Navajo hair tie, the way people, especially women, tie their hair with this. It's a tzitzilotl hair tie, which denotes his mother. So everything of this is feminine, and I have surrounded it with the coyote fur here, because coyote is the midwife in all of this. And here I have a shaman's coyote wand. You can see that. And then I should come over here, I forgot to show you this sand painting. Is unusual because this is a sand painting for the figure for Hastarashini, or blackness is her body. So you can get that in there. So in terms of the story that's going with this is that on top of the sky-reaching rock, like the bellstone, there is something like a lake or a pond, at least it's a receptacle for water, and that fills up with water, maybe from the rain, going that way. And then it overflows, that water overflows, so I made this to effect that overflow of water. This is the conception of born for water, as he's being born down into a pool of water. Now you can go over here to where I have the bellstone. We're doing double here. So this would be the pool of water, and here's Coyote who wades into the pond, and here this is meant to be Coyote who gets a hold of this a little person and raises him up to the sun. So that's what he's figuring to do. And in this way, you could say he's being, baptized, to come into being. He is his mother's son. Basically, that's what this is here. So all this, has the Navajo rendition of this Celtic bellstone here. And it's real particular for that. Now, a couple of things I have in this, because the crystal plays so much a part, and I have this, there's a crystal here. These are authentic. These aren't things that I just made up. This is actually from a cave there. And then over here is also, this is the rock crystal of Born for Water, and this is his prayer stick. And this here is the great snake here. Now where I'm going to go with this is I'm going to read here, actually, the great star Chantway. Oh yes, the the sky-reaching rock on the top of it is called the emergence place, and that's pretty solid. From the center of the sky, born for water, using his blue feathered staff, comes in to search for me, with lightning flashes flashing behind him. He comes in to search for me, using his rock crystal and prayer stick. He comes in to search for me. At the emergence place, he comes in to search for me. Behind the great snake, where my feet lie, where my body lies, where my voice lies, where my power of movement lies, I came in searching for all these. Further on, he comes in to search for me behind the great white snake. As the rainbow returns with me and the prayer sticks teach me, he returns with me. Hey-ya! From where the white snake Hogan, kind feelings will come to you as you go about in life, my grandchild, he says to me as he sits down beside me. Hey-ya! Guided by these things, you shall find protection, and you shall live on, respected everywhere, my grandchild, and in all places as you live on, he says to me as he sits down beside me. Hey-ya! This enables you to live on in blessing, he says. Blessed again, it has become a hope.